Welcome everyone to Tuesday Night Show and Share. This is where we meet every Tuesday, rain or shine, holiday or pandemic, anytime, every Tuesday since the beginning of Knox Makers. We come together, show off things that we're working on, things we've made, things we've completely messed up to warn other people. We have a sign-up list when you walk in the door. I have a couple people on this list, so we're going to start with Joe Pardue, who has paper mache scary things.
Hi, I'm Joe, and you could not have avoided seeing us working out there on the table when you came in. This is a paper mache mask making class. Inspiration came from this guy right here that I made about 40 years ago, back when my hair had color to blend in with my beard, which was the same color as this. Anyway, it occurred to me this stuff is really sturdy, and I would think it would make a really good building material. So I wanted to explore some more modern paper mache things. And so we're having the class out there, and this is the mask we're working on right now. This guy right here, because, just because. There's 3 sessions, and in the 3rd session we will paint this. We will paint this and maybe add warts and stuff. This is made with Scott towels and a mixture of plaster and Elmer's glue and some other stuff. This I made just kind of as a lark. And this I made recently, but oh well. So I tried an experiment with Johnny Good, is the lady's name. The website is ultimatepapermache.com. She has this thing called air dry clay. These things are Scott towels, and they're done like regular paper mache where you just put strips of them with the paste on. This is some stuff that comes out like pizza dough, and you roll it out and you make with it. And this is a failure, and I was going to throw it away because when it was floppy for a few days, but then I just picked it up and hear that? And you are welcome to break this in order to do a strength test of this first example of some kind of a material. I was thinking, you could like drape this over a flower pot. I don't know why, but you would make a drapery looking flower pot. So let me hand around a couple of these things. Y'all can look at it. You can break off a piece of this if you want to. The class runs from 6, breaks for show and share, usually ends by 8:30 or 9. 4 of the board members wanted to take it, and they're herding cats on Tuesday, so I started a Monday class for them. And I decided that anybody who wants to learn paper mache, just come up and talk to me. I will arrange a time to work with you, one-on-one coaching. And I'm not going to charge anything, but I'm going to recommend making a donation of $5 to $10 to the arts and crafts section. Sean's asleep back there. Making a donation to the arts and crafts section, and I will I'm retired. I'll work around your schedule. I want to get other people interested in this, and we should have a paper mache workstation with all the materials you need available somewhere out there eventually. Was that 3 minutes? Okay, or more. Any questions?
It's not really a question, it's a demand or an ask. When you guys are done making your masks, can we have like a little fashion show?
We will, and we're going to have, in fact, to go along with this, I didn't bring it this time, but I have a set of tusks that are made out of moldable plastic. And so we'll have a session to make tusks. We're going to have a section to make Viking helmets, both the Brunhilde with the wings, if somebody can give me some chicken wings, or a man's with the horns. And I'm going to try to keep running some classes for a while. My ethic is adult kindergarten. So, any more questions? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm in Joe's Monday class, and so far I've only put foil on my face, but it was pretty fun so far. And in addition, this is sort of a side announcement, you can also come and wear your mask to the Knox Makers Halloween movie night, which is in October, and I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but it will be announced again. Next on the list, we have Daryl, who has knife number 2, but not knife number 1.
Second knife, yeah, I mixed up my titles. All right, zoom in. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm Daryl. I joined, I think on June 1st was my first meeting, and I think I presented that night and was formal like a month later. My first presentation was my first knife. So it actually does make an appearance, and it's kind of blocky and chunky and ugly, but it was fun to make, and I learned a lot. So then I launched into second knife, which started as a drawing. My best friend loves knives. He's a kind of a collector, and I always wanted to make him one since I started this. And I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I don't know, maybe something kind of like a Bowie, but with a real deep belly and smaller and everything else." So I drew up some pictures. These are what I drew. He liked this kind of bottom one, which is a really weird one that actually turns out to be pretty close to a style of knife called a kukuri. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's very hard to make, it turns out. Obviously, I need to scale it up because this actual knife is one that fits his hand really well, so my drawing was too small. I took that picture into Inkscape, drew a little vector art of it, 3D printed it so I could have something in my hand to kind of test and hold up, as I was forging. I made a bunch of ugly things that sit on a shelf now. I think I went through 5 or 6 tries before getting one that I felt happy about. They're very ugly. I tried different methods. I tried forging the tip first. I tried forging the handle first, and none of them really worked. Until I decided, well, I'm actually just really bad at determining how much metal I need to make the size knife I want. So I'm just going to forge the point on a piece of bar stock and then cut it off where I think I need it to make the handle, so I don't have this big elongated thing or this short stumpy thing. So I actually got on this picture here, that's the final forge state. It's pretty close to the profile. I had to file off a little bit, so I brought it in here to file off some of that extra metal. But it's, here I've got the actual knife with a little grinding done just on the profile, the drawing and the 3D printer. It's pretty close. The handle looks a little janky. It's kind of small and not exactly what I had in mind, and here it is in hand, ground down just a little bit, and you can see a lot of ugly marks, hammer marks and such on the blade. Here it is. I'm trying to fix those, so I hand filed this thing and hand sanded it. I was terrified because it took me a lot of effort to get this far. I was terrified to try to grind it, a bevel on it, because I'd mess it up. So I hand ground it using Sharpie to try to show where what I need to grind off. So that's what you're seeing here. Here I made some sanding sticks to use with it. I got some camel bone. It's called jigged camel bone. It's got this pattern kind of gouged into it. I may never use it again. It's very hard to use. In particular, it's hard to get the pins into the knife through it. But that's what I used. Ground that down. I've got a rough shape here. I've got some pins in it just to make sure they align. I drilled more holes in this because they're good for reducing the weight of the knife, and they're good for epoxy to get down in and give you a better fit, a better stick. Here it is. This picture is just kind of in profile. Here it fits in. It is actually something you can hold in your hand. It's somewhat sharp. I sharpen it, by hand, and I'm still learning how to do that. So it's not the sharpest you ever held, but I'm not going to pass it around. It's sharp enough that I don't want to do that. I do have it with me. Brandish it menacingly to you all. If anyone is desperate to see it, I'll stick around for a few minutes after, and I'll happily over a table. I'm gonna ship this to my friend, and I'm terrified I'm gonna drop it. So over top of a table or something, I'll let people inspect it and see all the defects that don't show up on screen. Thanks. Any questions? Thanks.
Make sure you sign an extra waiver before touching Daryl's knife. Next up, we have Brad, who has not brought a canoe, but has pictures of one.
Hey, folks, I wanted to, I built some of these canoes with the Boy Scouts in New York back about 30 years ago. We built 6 of them. Before they had fundraisers like they do now, like GoFundMe, but we met a guy that was swimming in the Y who gave us $500, and that was enough in those days to build 5 boats. So this little boat is real cool, and I'll show you a picture of it with me paddling it last week. And I weigh 230 pounds, and it's still got a little bit of freeboard left before it just sinks. Weighs 24 pounds, and let's see it. This is it sitting next to a Old Town Otter, which is a roto-molded boat, and it weighs 46 pounds. And then there it is. And, you know, I painted it yellow because I really wanted to show up when I'm out in the middle of the water. But the thing is, it's made, that's it in my basement. Give you a little bit of the shape of it. That's the paddle again. Now, that's the back side of the paddle, and it's made out with plywood and epoxy and fiberglass. And the thing that's so neat about this is, if you look at the boat here. Let's see. Come on now. You can see that there's what they call a chine, which is this hard line that goes right along here, and so the chine disappears right in this area, which makes it. You think, how can you make it out of plywood if the plywood, if the chine disappears, if there's 2 pieces coming together, how do you make it disappear? Well, it has a dart cut in it. And so you cut the dart, and then you pull the pieces together, and you sew it with copper wire, and you epoxy it and fiberglass it. Then the next day you pull the wire out, sand it all down, cover the seams with fiberglass, tape. It's really cool. It's really fast and easy. I built this in 22 hours. And I was trying to see how light I could make it. I was working in a boatyard at the time. We had some pretty nice materials. But I thought it would, and the cool thing is the guy who designed the boat, now that he turned the plans over to into the general public, so they're free. And so I had the drawings. I still have the original drawing, but I didn't have the written instructions. I've been writing up written instructions, but one of the things he said that always stuck with me is that he said, build a paddle first. Because to build a paddle, you take a piece of plywood and you cut a dart in it, and when you pull it together and sew it with a copper wire, it makes a concave surface. Concave on one side, convex on the back. And you putty it and with epoxy putty, and you fiberglass it, just so you learn a little bit about everything. And he says, the reason you build it first is so that you get a little experience, but also when you get done with the boat, you're going to be so excited to get it in the water and paddle it that you're going to go buy a paddle. And he says, this is a real nice paddle, so you make the paddle first. So I made this out of what they used to call door skin, which is real thin plywood, and it's like 3 millimeters. It's a little less than 1/8 of an inch. And they used to have it everywhere, every lumberyard you went to, because exterior doors were made with exterior glue door skin. Now, most exterior doors are steel. They have a steel sheathing on them, and I cannot find exterior. I paid $12 a sheet. It takes 2 sheets to make one of these boats. I paid $12 a sheet for them, and now you can only get interior glue 3 millimeter plywood, and I'm not going to spend the time and effort and all the epoxy and everything that takes. And to buy marine plywood that's 3 millimeters is $75 a sheet, and they don't sell it anywhere closer than the Chesapeake Bay. They sell it in Annapolis at the Chesapeake Bay Light Craft. And I said, well, okay, $75 a sheet, 2 sheets, that's $150. How much does it cost to ship it? And she said it costs more than that. So to build one of these now, it's gonna be $350, not counting, you know, incidentals. And so I want everybody to be on the lookout for exterior glue door skin, if we can find it. In the meantime, you know, I'll see about sourcing it somewhere else, somehow, some way. If I drive to Annapolis sometime, I'll bring some back. But it's, they're great little boats. This was 30 years old. I just paddled it last week, and I'd love to build a couple of boats here for people that are interested. There's nothing better than getting in a boat that you built and paddling it or sailing it or rowing it. Thanks.
If anyone's in the outdoor channel on Mattermost, well, if you're not in the outdoor channel on Mattermost, sometimes Knox Makers groups go camping or canoeing or hiking. So you should totally join that and come camping with us like we did last weekend. Last on our list tonight, we have Diane, who has Cookies Remake.
This is my son's fault. I was, the first time I.
Come on up here.
Well, I'm having trouble along with myself.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
This is really what we're after. I mean, you can stay here, but we want the cookies.
Make sure he gets one. Right there. Give him-
Sure, Billy gets it.
I was gonna give him one on the way up, but he went walking.
I try not to respond to the squeaky wheels too readily, you know. Even if Billy has done me many favors.
Okay, you can figure out where they're supposed to go. So the way this started, I just am a cookie maker, and so I was doing it just to bring cookies to the meeting, to which my son, without me knowing it, put me on the show and share list. So all of a sudden, I'm up here saying, oh, well, these are called chocolate chip cookies, and they've got a little brown sugar, a little flour, a little this, a little that, and so forth. And we passed them around, and everybody ate cookies. Then the next time, I wanted to do something different, so I did snickerdoodles, which I'm an old lady, and I've been doing this a long time, and I've never had them fail. But it worked out well because that day, 2 people ahead of me had had failures that week. And so it worked out great because I came up and I showed them my failure, which were snickerdoodles that instead of flat were little mounds, hard as rocks. So I had no idea what happened to them. So at any rate, last time it was chocolate chip, so I'm doing it periodically. This time we have snickerdoodles that are correctly done. So we will pass them around. I hope you enjoy.
Cooking is totally making. There's lots involved in cooking. I will later. They won't last until I get. There are more people here. Yes, Sue?
Isn't there a channel?
There is a channel. There's a channel about food. So if you like cooking making, we can't do it here, but there's a food and drink channel on Mattermost as well. See all these advertisements for all of our channels. Speaking of channels, again, there's an events channel on Mattermost that talks about upcoming events. It updates every day at 10 a.m. and has a list of all the events for the next 2 weeks, which I will now read for you. This Saturday is an open house in the fabric arts area. It's sort of just, I mean, it's a workshop. So it's Sue and Thea and anybody else hanging out. You can come and get your questions answered if you have some mending project or if you have something you're stuck on. They're just going to hang out, answer your questions, help you out if you need a tour on the sewing machine, that kind of thing. Just work on, I might use it just as an excuse to work on fabric arts at a dedicated time. That's Saturday, this Saturday from 10 to 4. Also on the calendar is an intro to electronics and a woodworking 101. Those are both sold out. So if you want those, you should pester Ray and Gabe respectively, and they will put more on the calendar. On Wednesday, the 21st at 7 p.m. is a MIG welding class, and there is only 1 ticket left for that. So get out your phones and buy one right now if you are interested in that. Coming up in a couple weeks, we have a schematics to breadboard on Saturday the 24th, which is Ray. And we have a metal flower class, which is welding a rose with David Nelson on Sunday the 25th, and there's tickets for both of those left. That's all I've got for upcoming events. You can go to our calendar, knoxmakers.org/events, to buy tickets. A couple of announcements. We have not moved buildings, obviously, but we have a new address. We've decided that it'd be easier for us to get our mail if we had a P.O. box. So if you mail your dues in by check, then you should change the address on that to our P.O. box, and we can tell you what that is. Well, it's 20474, so. And the other announcement is that we have recently hit 300 members. We always have people leaving and moving away and coming in, like every single week there's turnover, so we're like flirting with 300, but I think we're definitely over 300 now, so I thought we would cap out at 150, so obviously I was wrong about that. So with all these members, surely we can get someone to help empty the trash tonight. Anyone? Russell? Would you be willing to do the filters? All right. If anyone else sees any trash laying around or sees something that needs to be done, feel free to do it. That's how we run this place. Everything here is done by us. If you want a project to work on, if you want to practice your skills, talk to the czar of your favorite area, and they will surely hook you up with something. Other than that, let's go make stuff. Have a good night tonight.